1 to find this, of course, not in session. Case number CRB 21-1129, State of Ohio versus Lawrence P. Steele. Damn it, you're in jail again. You recall me talking about that? Because you failed to abide by the rules, I don't know the facts, don't need to know the facts. Post bond, you can get out. If you can't post bond, see ya. Once again, not doing what I told you to do. Because you're the defendant and she is the victim. That's exactly what I told you that same day. That's how it works at this point. You are innocent until proved guilty.
Nothing else good in life for whiskey, guys.
They cited you. That makes you the defendant. That makes her the victim. And in that relationship, that's how it goes with Ohio law. You are able to go and set up housekeeping someplace else, but you still have to provide for the residents, your residents. Because you kept saying, I don't understand, she doesn't live there, it's my house. Why does she get to stay there and I have to leave? That's law in the state of Ohio.
What's up, everyone? I figured we'd come on here today for a minute and talk about due process. But before I do that, anyone's following along, I'll jump in for a minute. I want to take a break from talking about my stuff, but still at rock bottom anyways. But I got my guitar, the day all the stuff went down, they came out, I had this guitar as Epiphone. It's a $200 guitar, okay? It ain't like top notch, whatever, but it usually always has a really good sound to it for what it is, and usually play along with other people with a little better guitar. It's supposed to be better guitars. Usually mine sounds pretty good. I got it set up pretty good usually, okay? But as I said in the one video, they took my two guitars when I said I want those, I'm not leaving here without those, and they brought them out so the cops could search them, so that the sheriffs could search them, which was unlawful. They didn't have a right to do that. And right in front of the officers, who did nothing about it, they took this with no case, threw it down on the ground, and I don't know how they mistreated. I had my tuner hooked up here, and that's missing. It's gone. And so I don't know how they treated it inside. And then they brought out my Gibson Les Paul. It's a high dollar guitar, was in its case. Threw that down anyways. Yeah, it's in a case, but those are sensitive guitars. Necks break easy, the heads break easy. Anyways, and when it seems to be all right, I gotta take a closer look in better light to make sure. It ticks me off. It's bullcrap. They didn't have a right to do that. And so what I want to say is on this one, probably can't see in there, but there's a crack in there, right? I don't know if you can see that. It looks like a space there. Space wood. That's cracked. Okay, and then this here is that. It's all dented in, indented, chipped, and then there's a spot here that you can a little bit see, you can see it, and it's that's how they, like I said, this ain't the top dollar guitar or whatever, but so what? It's my property, right? And it's got sentimental value. My dad had a similar guitar that I had gotten after he passed away, and of course it meant everything to me, right? And this strap was for that guitar, but it wasn't on it, and that guitar got stolen from me. And so this one was a gift from family to replace that, not to replace it, but to kind of remembrance of that guitar, right? So it's just a crock that they did that. Anyways, I'm getting ready to put it up, but just got it out, checked it over, and messed around with it. It was out of tune, but that might not necessarily mean, but I don't know. It always keeps tune. It's usually a pretty good guitar. the sound, I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm out here in the wide open. But, you know, ticks me off. It's my property, you know, and they sat there and watched it happen. There's no reason I couldn't have went in there and got stuff, the whole thing. Anyways, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. And I'm going to try to keep all my stuff documented because there's my, you know, proof. I just showed it right there. I showed how they left the property and all that stuff. And who knows what the rest of my property is. It's sickening. And that's what the sheriff's department's done to me. So that's what lack of due process does to you, right? And that's what I want to talk about right now is due process. You can use my case for an example or not, but you know, due process is the fact that to protect the accused has rights. You know what I'm saying, right? If you're accused of something, you're a defendant, you still have rights. And due process is to ensure that those rights are protected, just like everybody else's rights. Okay, right? Now, you know, so if your rights aren't protected, and you're not necessarily guilty anyway. I mean, it don't matter even if you are guilty. You have rights. Everybody has rights, and they should be protected. Now, in a case, if you take a case like mine, here there's several of them just like it here in Defiance. So I would, you know, what they accuse me of domestic violence. The sheriffs did. They're the only ones that accused me of it to begin with, and then the city law director as prosecutor pursued that, even though he had no proof. Now the thing is, with that, they threw me out of my house, and you know, if anyone's been paying attention, that's this was back in November 12th in court. They threw me out of my house, and I'm like, what do you mean? To me, you know, what do you mean? So I you know, all this was getting serious. Normally I handle my own cases, but I'm like, you know, whatever. So I was working, I was making decent money, and I said, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna get a lawyer. I went and paid a lawyer, and he screwed it all up. And you know, we'll get in a lot of the different subjects later, different ways that things happen. I'll try to keep them for, some of my videos ain't quite so long and whatever, but due process, okay? This is very important, and people don't want to understand it. Due process is it's a very important part of the law, okay? And without, you know, so example of absence of due process is my case. So when they threw me out of my house because I was accused of domestic violence, I didn't, you know, there was no domestic violence, and other stuff proves that, but you know, all those for later. But one of the papers turned in by the arresting officer, Deputy Little of Defiance County Sheriff's Department, turned in, and the paper he turned in for the prosecutor page, it says, and I turned this in the court anyways, it says I was not believed to be a threat and no one was harmed, all of that stuff, right? So technically, according to that, if I wasn't believed to be a threat, no one was harmed, and there was no signs of violence, all this was omitted on that report, I shouldn't have went to jail. Instead, I went to jail anyways, and the prosecutor then gets it, and he gets that page, but instead pursues to the court to throw this, where, you know, maybe not everybody's case will be quite the same, but this is where this is where it comes in together, that the whole system's working together against us, against our rights. And okay, behind me is the Maumee River. I'm here at the Independence Dam, right outside Defiance. I keep a camera rolling, and it's live to a cloud. it's not live to any Facebook, any streaming, anything. It's just going live to, so it can be saved to friend of mine's. I left my drive that I had. I left that there so that, and ask them permission. That way, if something is to happen to me, I got to keep. Right now, I was trying to use the other camera, but it's dead. So this is my phone. So right now it's streaming to that, but not. I'll still edit it and all that. I can't. Anyways, that's just for my own safety, right? Because they're not. I'm not done. They're not done. Anyways, so where was we? So the system. Okay, so the prosecutor, instead they go ahead and take on. They say on their own motion, the state took it over because it's domestic violence or whatever, and it wasn't. Okay, anyways, in order to do this stuff, there's got to be due process. Okay, and as part of that state taking it over, they put on the court on its own motion, put in which shows the whole cooperation, because nobody even asked for it. The court did it on its own for no reason. Put in a temporary protection order, and as part of that order, I wasn't allowed at my house, right? So I was like, whoa, and I asked the judge, and he says, well, because it's the law, because you are the defendant and she is the victim, and it's the law. It's not, okay? This is where due process was not, as in order for them to be able to even tell me I couldn't talk to somebody, I couldn't be in my house, especially. In order for those things to happen, they had to follow due process. And depending on what your case is, it's in what they call the law, and it's not. It's Ohio code or whatever. It's not technically. The Constitution's the law. We already said that, right? So they where was I at? So in order for them to be able to order me out of my house and all that, the courts don't have the authority to do that. That's my property. If you're in this situation or a similar situation, you can be charged with something else. And anyways, you can be in that situation. The court don't have the authority over your property. They got to go through due process to prove there's a reason to have that authority. And that, in my case, they had to, as the law states in Ohio, the codes state, but it's Ohio, the law, what they're claiming is the law, states that in order to do that, you have to have a hearing. The due process part of this is to have a hearing, and in that hearing, the alleged victim has to be there, and if the alleged victim does not show up, the only reason she should not be there, or he or she, whoever the alleged victim is, the only reason that person should not be there is because they are too badly hurt, and which means they can prove the person was hurt. Okay, if the person shows up, if that's not the case, then the person needs to show up and plead the case or whatever, and that's not happened. Nothing happened. And had they done due process, first of all, as the way it appears on my case, the alleged victim would have been there and said, no, nothing happened or whatever. They would have had but they didn't do none of that. And instead unlawfully ordered me out of my house. So they didn't follow due process. That's due process of law, and people need to understand how important that is. Because look behind me, as I was saying, I'm here at the Independence Dam. And that's what I was trying to say earlier, right? Because now eventually it led into the video you may have seen just a few days ago, where they showed up in force to throw me out of my house, right? Well, that was all caused from this case where there was no due process followed. And we'll break in, I'll get into all these other things later about my case, but for today, that's due process, and it's very important. If they don't follow due process, this happens to your life. And the court failed to do due process. The prosecutor, assistant city law director, or whatever, prosecutor of that case, failed to prove any real case, and instead had proof, and it was his job, because he is a under oath and elected official. It's his job to see the violation there and see the wrong and put a stop to that. It's his job to protect my rights and whose ever rights. It's his job to protect the alleged victim or whatever, and but also he's got to protect my rights. He can't be violating my rights, and that's exactly what he did. He malicious prosecution. He I went ahead and got a lawyer, and then my lawyer was in on it and threw me under the bus. Didn't tell me about. They didn't follow. Didn't have a due process hearing. Didn't tell me none of that. He didn't tell me several things, and we'll get in each one of these things. But everything we'll talk about in my case in future videos. How each thing happens. This is because I learned from experience from getting screwed over by my lawyer. But here in Defiance, it's corruption, and maybe wherever you are too. But I'm marked around here now because because when I wasn't gonna put up with it, they came at me with the full might of their local group here that we'll get into later too. But so the prosecutor's job was to see that. And now the judge can pretend that he didn't know about my case, but he threw out this thing about he heard me say whatever in a recording, and that recording would have he would have heard the officer violate my rights. But so that means he heard that recording, which they're telling me don't exist, but the judge acknowledged it. Anyways, he would have heard the violation of my rights. So the judge knew about the violation of my rights before I even did a second night in jail. I did 4 nights in jail. The judge knew this, prosecutor knew this, my lawyer knew this, Victims Advocate Group, because here in Northwest Ohio, it's all one group, and it's connected with the jail, it's connected with the Victims Advocate Group, Child Family Services, and then there's one other, 2 different groups that they're connected to, and it's all their slush fund, it's all of this. It's the corruption, and they're making criminals out of everybody. But anyways, we'll get back on here. I want to talk about some other things, and one thing is going to be oaths and honor. And because each one of these people are in dishonor, have chosen to live in dishonor. The group they're claiming to be I'm not saying they're claiming to be a part of. Anyways, they are a part of, but their supposed teachings is to make you a better person and make you live in honor and righteous and stuff. And these people are purposely ruining lives. That's dishonor. They are in dishonor. I've been in honor the whole time. My story's stayed the same the whole time. It's not changed once. Their story has changed each and every time I get back in there. So whatever it is, what it is. But due process, you look more into it, but if you don't understand what due process is, but it's due process is the part of the law has to protect your rights too. And I'll throw a little clipping up there of the definition, but due process is very much important. And if if you're going through this kind of case right now, you want to make sure, or a similar case, first thing you want to do if you're going through this case right now, you want to make sure if due process wasn't followed, you get it thrown out, and that's what should have happened in mine, but my lawyer threw me under the bus. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video. I'll see you again pretty soon. I'm gonna sit down and talk about honor, living in honor, and oaths. And I said, we'll see where all my conversations go with some of this. I also said something about, in my one video, we'll talk about some stuff going on with what's going on with this world, and one of those things is fake people, fake Christianity. So that's where we'll go. So anyone who don't know, that's the worst thing for me right there. Motorcycles going by, And down through here along the river, they're going by all the time. That's the worst thing for me. I want to be out there on my bike. I can't be. Like, I should be flipping these dudes off, whether or not. Anyway, so, yeah. So that, you know. So another thing I'll throw out there. I'm not here to. But from time to time, you'll hear me talk about my views, and anyone wants to try to debate stuff, that's fine. But just don't be trying to persuade me on my views. I'm not going to persuade, force you to believe mine, and I won't. But I am, I guess, of the, you'll find on here, like, because I'm going to be calling out some Christian, how a lot of Christians act. So I guess, technically I'm a Christian, right? But I have my reasons, and it goes all the way back to, anyways, we can get into all that some other time. But anyways, so I don't want to offend nobody with that, but too bad. That is my views, and I'm throwing that out there because one reason is some things that happen, and I just want to call out how there's a lot of Christianity that is on a worse path than some of the sinners. But and maybe I'll end up with no followers eventually, because I got a knack for pissing everybody off. And hey, we'll get into other more serious topics too, which once in a while I'll try to get on there with some more serious topics, and try to get these more interesting as soon as I can. But anyways, get prepared, guys. It's coming back around again, and don't I guess I should probably watch what I say, but don't do it. Don't listen to them. Don't be fooled again. And anyways, thanks for checking it out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, please, and thank you. And due process. Going in through any kind of case, we'll get more into that more in depth later on as things improve, where I can make some better videos. But we'll but in the meantime, make sure due process is being followed in your case. And these all these people they're violating their oaths. Officers, these people are liars. They're the biggest liars around here. They violate their oaths, sworn. We'll get into oaths. My next video, maybe, hopefully. Anyways, talk to you later.